So here we are. The Hangout is on air now and it's even live broadcasting into the World Wide Web. This is one of the first 7 sessions of the Gauntlet Con. So welcome everybody to Gauntlet Con, I would also say. But I realized yesterday evening that Gauntlet Con started early. So there were already like more than 10 people online discussing in the taverns, on Discord. And so I can't really say that this is the beginning of Gauntlet Con, but it's at least one of the first 7 sessions starting right now. We are playing Sagas of the Icelanders, and that is powered by the Apocalypse game, so most of the mechanics are quite familiar. It's also first generation powered by the Apocalypse. So it came out very early in the line and doesn't deviate very much from the original. Which also means that it doesn't have many extra rules and a very basic set of moves. The most interesting part for me is that the author, Gregor Vuga, decided that he doesn't want to ignore the gender separation and segregation in Viking society, but make it a focal point in the game. And that turned out to be a brilliant idea because it makes this game very special, because the basic moves are split into 3 columns, and one is for general moves, which mainly refer to dying or testing destiny. The second column is for only male playbooks, and the third only for female identifying playbooks. So although there were men and women who deviated from their gender in Viking society, it was rather strict, like where you were put in place. Men had no other way to convince somebody else to do something than insulting them. And if your honor was in question, that was nearly as worse or even worse than dying. Women, on the other hand, had to convince a man to do something. They were also quite good at that, but they couldn't simply go out and do the stuff by themselves. Whenever you do something which is not covered by your gendered moves or your playbook moves, you tempt fate. And some characters have a high value in that stat you need for tempting fate, so you can deviate from your gender norms, but it's still not as optimal the result as the gendered playbooks could go for. That I find super interesting. So I'm happy that we have a good mixture of genders here around the table. We have 2 male playbooks and 1 female playbook. And we are about to do character creation in the background. We have a Google spreadsheet, and this is where we do that. Because this is a Gauntlet session, the inclusivity policy applies, and we also have the X-Guide on the table. If there's content which you find uncomfortable with for whatever reason, you don't have to tell anybody why, but you can just show us in the chat or visibly that you would like to rewind something or have something written, told differently. We also have a
Do we have a frozen Garrett?
That's unfortunate.
Like
Oh no.
And I think I had a temple and elder appear in my character column.
Whoopsie. Did I? Oh, yep. Sorry, wrong column.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Yep.
This is kind of funny because the last time I played with Garrett, he was going to run the Warren for us. This was a month back. And we did character creation, just kind of started, and then his internet just bombed out. Like, I mean,
Ooh.
yeah. And he was enough so he could come back, and he's like, well, you guys know where the story's going. I mean, if you want to keep playing, you can. And so I took the GM role and then ran with the rest of the game. And we were just joking, like yesterday or the day before, that he's gonna run off and leave me to GM again.
Yes. Around.
Are you back?
Oh,
But I'm back, yeah. So fortunately, we had two networks. Since yesterday, I organized a second network from the neighbors, and I could switch to the second one, and that one works. And hopefully it also even works better, who knows?
It's
just
not
my
working
phone.
better.
Yeah, it's a little robotic.
Ah, okay, yeah. I might need to get closer to the neighbors. So when we do the break, I move the table a little bit more further into the neighbor's direction. Hear me somehow?
It's
Sufficient enough?
yeah, it's just rough trying to understand. Now, no.
I'd switch back to the other network, 5 meters maybe. And so I move into that direction as soon as I can. Okay, so I should switch to the other network again. All right. So I'm on the other network again.
Sounds a lot better.
yeah, sounds
Yes.
better.
Yeah. Okay, but that's the unstable one. That's the better connection, but unstable. So in any case, I have a backup solution. All right. But I see that you used the time and continued creating your characters. How far are you? Like, really done? Completely done?
I'm up to bonds.
Almost done. I'm just picking my move.
Yeah, I'm picking my move, and I need to do my farmstead and obligations.
Yeah, the man has a lot of stuff to pick through.
Indeed, yeah. However, we can do for the man's playbook. I would recommend that we do that a little bit together, if you like. There's
sure.
There's a second tab in the character keeper. Yeah, and somebody is so kind and deleting from previous play the selections. And if you don't mind, man, then each of us could choose one obligation.
Sure.
So then, yeah, we do that a little bit more collaboratively. However, the man has to take the one he dares not to break. Very important. Yeah, and everybody just takes one, so we don't have the full 4, but enough obligations anyway. Yeah. By the way, there's also a role for your party link in there. But I don't mind if you roll with actual dice.
Question: what does the stat weird kind of imply?
Yeah, I also wanted to tell you a little bit about the mechanics. So weird is out of the norm. So out of the norm beyond the 6 senses. So with weird, you roll tempt fate, the default move you have if you don't have a move for something. So usually if a man wants to talk sense, tell the others what would be a plausible, a good, a rational solution. Man can't do that, then they have to roll plus weird. So it makes a lot of fun not to have a high value in weird if you want to play full to the gender norms, which is part of the game, I would say. And then you have like one character who can do both somehow. Example. So that is what weird is mainly for. Does it explain that enough?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could also go into the rule book.
No, I think that's
and
good.
check. Yeah. And the other thing is that the bonds you have, there's one NPC always present, which is fate. I have a GM, and the GM can say that they get a fate, a bond of fate with you. But assist and hit, I can give you on any roll after you rolled +1 or -1, which is quite strong and quite interesting. So if the fate has a bond with you, that's quite tough. The bonds you can use for two different purposes. You can give +1 and -1 to anybody else. You can assist or hinder. The other thing you can do with a bond is you can look into someone's heart. And that's very important because that's empathize move in the game. So you can tell them a question the player has to answer truthfully. So that's very important, and especially because of the short playtime we have, just get away with the bonds you have because they are useful. You are leveling up when all the 4 bonds you created at the very beginning are somehow touched. The game says when you roll a move related to that other person, then you can check off that relationship. If you check them all off, then you level up. We can do that more liberally and say that even if you just have a conversation or some kind of interaction with somebody, then you can cross off that relationship. So that's another thing, yeah. And the hit points, so to say, are scarce, so they reduce one of your stats permanently. That's very easy and can also quickly apply in the game. You can gain bonds when you make somebody a gift. And gifts are very important if you come back from a journey. For example, if you visit a neighbor, then it's possibly time for a gift, and that gives you another bond.
And I think sort of hilariously for the system, the other easiest way to gain a bond is to injure someone.
Indeed, yeah. Indeed, yes, yeah. And then there are some individual character moves which give you bonds. But yeah, that's the 2 main roads to gain bonds with somebody. Or, are we ready to establish relationships?
Almost.
All right.
I think so. Maybe I should double check.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
So, do you also want to start? Do you have somebody in mind? Just a couple of words about the farmstead. There are up to 20 people living on such a farmstead, but most are like children or elderly people. And so this is a drama which should be focused on your characters. So having strong ties to each of the other PCs is definitely a thing we should aim for. But having like 2, 3, 4 NPCs is also fine.
Oh, quick question. Is there do they have a suggested names thing, or I don't know?
Yes. In the main playbook, it's like page 79, something like that.
Yeah, and there's the MC sheet where you can find names.
All right.
And also link to that.
Sheet. Let's open that up.
78 in the main rulebook, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, that's always helpful.
Well, if we're starting with descriptions, I wouldn't mind hearing from Chris, because you made some picks about the farmstead itself. So I wouldn't mind starting with talking about the farmstead.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. So I guess I was thinking that the farmstead would probably the picks I made were that it's built on a coastline, so we have birds, seals, and driftwood that we can access. And I was able to choose one improvement, and I guess I decided to choose Herb Garden, which allows us to exchange silver for medicine.
Neat.
Okay. Oh, another for your homestead.
Oh yes,
Price
yeah.
for an NPC. Right. Yeah, farmsteads are widespread, so the next one is definitely a couple of miles away and a little journey to get there. So we are mainly on our own. So it's sometimes good to have neighbors.
So I don't know, that herb garden. Do you think do you think we found something that's naturally here, like special to this place, or is it something that we worked up and built over time?
I think that it's something that I think that it has that maybe the farmstead has, just enough fertile land, and we had an extra plot, and maybe somebody when they came over to Iceland brought brought their own herbs and brought their own seeds, and we were able to take advantage of that.
Cool.
We want to give that person a name, or is that long last?
Yeah, we can give that person a name. Let's see.
Is the farmstead something that's been around for a long time, do we think? Or are we the first generation, or is it like...
I would say second generation. It makes historically sense and gives us a little bit of history.
So how about we make it like maybe one of my parents or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
my mom, I don't know, what... where is these names? Sigrid. Let's go with Sigrid. That's easy.
Do you put that into the NPCs list on the second tab?
Yes.
And she is still alive and on the farm?
That's a good question. I mean, does it help to have some of these NPCs be around for you?
I would like to have like 2 or 3 people. Yeah.
Sure.
But not more.
Yeah, let's do that.
Like 2 is good.
And did we establish that she was the one that brought over the seeds for the herb garden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. That sounds good. Yeah, then I would say Torun, the man. You have already a relationship with Sigrid?
Yes. Sorry. Is this a part of the official process, or are you just asking what my relationship with Sigrid is?
It's a part of the official process, but you have these 4 relationships to be established at the beginning.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. It doesn't. The relationship section of the playbook. Choose 4 and name the characters, and then they apply.
Okay.
And as always, we can come up with our own. It's not
Sure.
necessary from the list.
Okay, yes, my relationship to her, I will say I covet something they have. Because that's one of the things on the list. I'll even just say that that she controls the herb garden, and since it's my farm, I want basically I want it for myself.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. While establishing relationships, we learn a little bit about the characters. Fiasco style. And oh, Dala, do you have a relationship you would like to fix and tell us about you through that relationship?
Yeah. Oh, hold on just 1 second. There we go. I'm going to say normally the man and the woman, is it kind of assumed that in some way they're in some kind of relationship? I mean,
yes, usually
generally,
they're
right?
married.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this is my betrothed, is the man. Betrothed means you're going to be married, right? Or you are married. I don't use that word very often.
It means going to be married.
Yeah, so that's the idea. And I don't know if this is maybe some way that that Torun believes that he can get access to the garden as well.
Oh, possibly.
Good, yeah. Sounds good. Interesting. So maybe we will see a marriage today.
Or not.
Or not, yes. And what about the Gothi? Does he already have an idea?
So yeah, I think for is it Sigrid? I want to go with I want this one to be part of my family. I think I've had like a long burning thing for Sigrid. And maybe her husband died sometime, maybe not recently, but within the last couple years. And like this is my chance to move forward with things. She's come out of mourning, just getting on with things.
Yes. Sounds good. Then we are back at Torun, the man.
Okay, let's see. I think I will take... See, I guess I'll establish a relationship with our Gothi. Is your name pronounced Niall or Nijal or
Niall?
Niall? Okay. I will say that this is an old friend.
Okay.
Back to the woman, Dala.
Well, this is a fun one. This one has wronged my family.
Indeed.
And both of these would make great targets. But I've already got Tarun, so I'll say Niall.
And Sigrid's your mother, right?
That's right.
Amazing.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Now
That's
I'm
the
curious.
moment when the book with all the external threats goes together and away into the folder. All right. Yeah, let's continue with the Njal. Yes. It's the Gothi's turn again.
I don't know what all this like evil backstabbing that's happening is, but Torin is a trusted ally of mine. And I'm definitely older, so I think it's a lot that like I was here the whole time you were growing up. We sort of an adopted son nephew sort of relationship, I think.
Okay.
Not actually adopted, just like that's how he's always viewed you, and he was always kind to you when you were young.
Yeah, and he's. I think Torun probably doesn't have many siblings, and his parents possibly even died when he was, old enough to be on his own, but not not grown.
Okay. I could also see because there are a lot of like ritual and law giving and sort of religious community leader moves for the Gothi, none of which I really took. I took like ownership of the temple and general advice giver sort of thing from the elder. So maybe I wasn't really as qualified to be a Gothi as maybe some were, but when the last one died, you pushed for me to take the position.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
That sounds good. So everybody has 3 bonds now. I think.
No, I think we just have 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just 2. All right. Then let's go for the 3rd round. So I think it's Torun's turn again.
All right, so I should probably establish a relationship with Dala. I mean, I guess it's already been established, so I'll just reciprocate the. I guess this is my wife, but I'll just say this is my betrothed.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, with 3 players, you have like 12 relationships anyway, so it's good if some are just mutually going together.
Because I guess the others are. This one is my elder, which but then that would mean that Sigrid is that much older. That and that it was
Indeed.
I guess I could be. This one will bring nothing but bad luck, but I don't.
That's okay. I like that one.
Yeah, but I'm trying to marry you for your mom's herb garden.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, it could be that there's advantages to marry me, but maybe I have this kind of weird reputation or something.
Sure,
I figured Dala looks a little bit unusual and maybe has a little bit of kind of a weird reputation about her, whether or not it's deserved or anything.
Sure, I'll say this one will bring nothing but trouble.
Sounds good, yeah. By the way, Torun, I think you can still give +1 to one of the stats.
Let me see here. Oh, yes. I will go ahead and I'll go ahead and add it to versed. No, gendered. Gendered.
Oh, gendered. Ah. It reduces the possibility of complete disaster at the beginning of the game. Yeah. Because the man starts the game with rolling dice to see how the farmstead is doing. Plus gendered. Then that's where we start. Yeah. But we are not there yet. But Dala has to choose her third. She has a brother. Ah.
The brother, Aki.
What do we know about Aki?
So I think Aki is definitely a little bit older than I am, a little more hot-headed. And I think everything I know about Niall and why he's wronged our family has to do with things I've heard from Aki, mostly, maybe my mom as well, mostly probably Aki. I think maybe he blames Niall on our father's death, either directly or inadvertently.
Nice.
Good. Niall, do you want to establish something to Aki or somebody else?
I was gonna say for Dala, and I like Aki, and I may get back to him. But Dala has been touched by the gods. It's, I think, the one bit of like religious belief experience that he's had, but he's had these weird dreams about Dala ever since she and Torun became engaged. That there's something about her, this light around her, that she's important somehow.
Ooh.
Cool.
And her future husband thinks she brings bad luck.
Well,
it goes all together.
I'm not very experienced with the knowledge of the gods, so I didn't necessarily say it was a good god that she'd been touched by.
Indeed, yeah. So no, we maybe know where Torun got the idea from. This one will bring nothing but trouble. Torun, what about your fourth relationship?
We will say Torun has a child from a previous marriage, or rather, his first wife died a few years ago, so he has a son, Ref. And he's we'll say he's about old enough to get into real trouble, so we'll say he's about 12.
Okay. So soon to be married. In 2 years or so.
Yes.
Okay, then Dala, your last bond.
Is he frozen?
Looks like. Then, Njale, maybe you can go in before he's back.
Yes.
Frozen in Iceland. Oh no.
I think I want to sort of finish out our complicated family dynamics and almost.
Not yet, I would say.
but Aki is someone I cannot trust. I don't know where he's gotten it in his head that I am against his family and had something to do with his father's death, but he's had a chip on his shoulder for a couple of years now, and is like, I'm finally starting to see the damage that he's sort of sowing around.
Yeah, someone I cannot trust. Yeah, he is also. It seems from that generation. So we lost you for a moment, Tomer, but are you back now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Hey, sorry. It was the microwave. It's next to the Wi-Fi router.
Ooh.
My wife kills everything.
Something to ask the Yothi for, yeah.
So the last thing I heard Ref, the 12-year-old son.
Yeah.
And that was from what, like a previous wife or something, or
Yes,
girlfriend, or
Torun is widowed. So he's been widowed for about 3 years now.
okay. And then after that, did you guys go back to Nial?
Yes, I put down that Aki is someone that I cannot trust.
Cool.
I'm not entirely sure what turned him against me. Obviously, I've had some sort of longer-term relationship with your family, but in the past couple of years, he's been spreading rumors and obvious lies about me, and it's starting to get dangerous.
Okay. Nice. Obvious lies. God, there's a couple of different ways to play this. I kind of like the I know gossip about this one. Ooh. And we've got Ref,
Yeah.
huh?
Mm-hmm.
Ref.
Yeah, let's do
12.
Ref. I'm not sure what I know about him yet, though.
What could it be?
I think the gossip is that he is responsible for my father's death. But that's
Well.
gossip, right?
He's 12 years old.
Yes.
But maybe, yeah. Your father's death. Let's figure out how the tree of relationships looks like at the moment, right? So your father, that is Sigrid's husband, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we have Sigrid is one of the older generation, and there was her husband, and Rev and he died recently, it seems.
Yeah, let's call the husband Finn. So we have a name for it.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
was actually just about to suggest that one.
Wow. Okay. And Dalla is Sigrid's daughter. And soon to be married to Torun. And there is a Gothi named Njal, and he is a friend. So I wonder who has been around on the farm. So Torun and Njal only recently moved there, it seems.
Oh, I guess that's true. If the garden is here, then this is Dalla's farm, sort of.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it could also be that I mean, that's one way to play it. I'm also okay with, maybe we inherited this, took on the ownership of this farm from someone who is your relative, Tarun. So even though you're new here, this used to be someone in your family's farm.
Well, one of the things is that I owe another for my farmstead. So maybe that's even why maybe this used to be Sigrid and Finn's farmstead, but maybe like Finn, like maybe even before he died, he was sick, or just after he died, Sigrid could not tend the whole farm for herself, and so essentially gave the farm to Torun, which he's still paying off, essentially.
Right. Okay.
That sounds good. Yeah. Not yeah, and at the same time giving Dalla as his wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to establish a stable future for the farmstead. But somehow Finn died, and it must have been an accident, I guess.
An accident.
Of course.
An accident, yeah. And somehow Rev could have rescued him, but didn't.
Or maybe
Right? That makes sense.
maybe it was something that Ref did that got Finn into the dangerous situation.
Ah, yeah.
So we're next to the coast, so we've got cliff walls and
Yes.
all sorts of other fun stuff, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it even could have been, well. So I guess if it's just rumors, yeah, it could have just been that, maybe Finn, got into trouble and Ref didn't help him when maybe somebody thinks that they saw him near the cliffside, or yeah.
It would be interesting if the story didn't quite line up. Like, for example, maybe Finn, was found after he'd fallen off, kind of like a cliff face. And the last person he was with was Ref, right? And so maybe, Ref was found and, not really looking for help. And yet Ref, said, oh yeah, I was going to get help for him or something. It's kind of like some kind of don't know who to trust and what the exact story is.
Oh, that sounds really terrible. Yeah, because I mean, Finn was in many people's way. Like Njal is into Sigrid, so it was an opportunity that Finn is not around anymore. And Torun still has somehow this older guy being the real patriarch over the farm as long as he is alive. Oh no. So that influence here from the older people at the farm, that sounds quite obvious. And then there's still Aki.
What you're saying sounds just like what Aki tells me all the time.
Yes. Yeah, there's Aki, your brother. And, well, and interestingly, the others don't seem to be so interested in Aki. Or it's someone you cannot trust, but he's sidelined, right? He's like possibly also like to supposed to marry into another. The one important question is, why was Aki not taking over the farm? Like, that we should clarify.
Well, I mean, he normally would, right? Except that in this case, Torun is here and has kind of purchased the farm, but is still paying it off, right? I think, you know what? Maybe we're almost like there aren't normally written rules as far as what happens here in this situation, because normally either one thing finishes or the other one didn't even start or whatever, and now we're in the middle of all these negotiations and then the main person dies, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. That sounds good. Yeah.
And it could also be that just maybe, like, we've already established that Aki is brash and ill-tempered, and maybe, Sigrid didn't, she might not like Torun that much, but she doesn't necessarily trust her son to be able to, take care of the farm.
Wow, nice.
Cool. Okay. So if Christopher appears, we have a character for him. Yeah, cool. Do you think it would make sense to start at the game at the funeral for Finn? Are we at that point? Or would you prefer starting a little bit later? But it sounds like that could be a good place to reconsider the situation.
Well,
Yeah.
could we do something where that scene is assumed to be a flashback? So like we're kind of playing a little bit later in time, but we first kind of like set the scene
Yeah.
with this little funeral.
Totally okay. Just the only thing I'm always afraid of, like this could easily turn into a disaster with the rules of Sagas of the Icelanders, and we stay with that flashback forever till the epilogues. But yes, let's do it like this. Totally. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
we can also
The
keep in mind
the
that
interest,
it's supposed to
I
be a
think, in
flashback.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the interest in this game is always just the random chaos of where it goes. But if we could structure it where it starts with a funeral and ends with a wedding, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so I think we're done with character creation so far. We could
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the characters, what you have in mind. But maybe with the funeral, we have like opening scenes for each of you where you also talk a little bit about yourself, and that we do after the break. Does that sound good for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I would only have, before we take a little break, opening questions. To get a little bit more background about the farm and maybe what's going on there. So I have one question for each of you, and for the Gothi, I definitely want to know what is your temple, what is the sacred place you are in, and why does it need your protection? That's the additional thing I would like to know. So what is it? Like, is it a waterfall, a lava fields, a glacier? Or what kind of element could it be, and why does it need your protection? That's the question for you, Njal.
Okay.
Torun, I was like thinking about if you could tell me, why do you like you had a ceremonial knife, and it got like from your ancestors, and it got lost, and why is it important that nobody knows?
Okay.
And then, because you are not to be trusted in Dala, and if a Gothi says so, or that you bring bad luck or something, I want to know from you. You think that it was what why it was a bad idea that the farmstead was built at exactly this location? So what kind of history from this place you know? Like, the world of Sagas is full of stories about spirits and fairies and kobolds and whatever. So it could be related to that, but maybe also because of a crime what happened. So what is problematic about this place? Okay, if that makes sense to you, then we have a 5 minutes break, and then we continue. Then we start playing at the funeral. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
See you then.
Mhm.
So much coffee.
So much coffee. Give me coffee. Yes.
Sounds very similar, yes.
Great minds.
Yes, I would love to say that I'm living in a region where they produce coffee, but this is Nescafe.
I will tell you this. This coffee was bought and then roasted by somebody not far from where I live, and he delivers it by bicycle.
Ah, yeah,
That's his thing.
reverse, yeah. Cool. All right, and well, we won't have coffee at our farmstead, but still,
No.
very valuable herbs. Herbs, some people think so valuable that they might even kill for them. No, that not nobody would go that far.
Surely
Oh.
not.
Never.
Surely not. No. Never. All right. So there, usually the session begins with man's work, but we decided to start with this little flashback and deviate from the standard. And then we will have, like, after the funeral, we see how the farm is doing under Torrent's rule, who is then also actually officially only becoming the patriarch. So that makes total sense. But first of all, I want to know from Njal, how does your sacred place look like?
So I've put a picture up on the picture board, but basically it is a very old, very weirdly spread tree that has like ended up suspended between two cliff faces, as I think the original ground underneath it fell out. And so it's just like holding on with tendrils of roots to the cliffs on either side of it. And I think when people came to this area, they found the tree, and that was weird enough. But hanging from the branches by like twine were these gold and silver and crystal carved things that would like spin in the wind and catch the light and things like that. And so they came up with stories of the fairies and the sort of spirits that had lived in this area before, that this was their tree, and the original Gothi here claimed it as his shrine. And I think it needs protection. Obviously, just it's in a very precarious physical position, and so I think there's a lot of like shoring up the cliff around its roots and making sure that it keeps getting nutrients and growing further into more stable places. But also these hanging things. Whoever left them, the stories about them have gotten out to everyone, and whether it's people that occasionally find themselves in desperate need of money and are willing to like break the sanctity of the shrine to steal something and try and sell it, or people that are looking for a blessing in dire times, they'll try to like sometimes break in and steal some of these things.
Oh, hopefully nobody wants to destroy it on purpose.
No, that would be terrible and unimaginable. But yeah, I think part of praying at the shrine is sort of an act of bravery and faith to walk across this shaky structure of roots to get to the core of the tree and where the shrine is.
Okay, I love it. Dala, what have the gods told you about this place, or was it somebody else?
I'm envisioning that we actually, when we came here and created this farmstead, it was when I was maybe like a very, very young child, like maybe, 5 years old or something like that, or 4. Like you don't really have good memories of that time, but maybe some big event you will remember that, right? And so my image, my dream of coming here was being on a boat, with my family and looking out to where the farmstead is, right? And to that piece of land where nothing has been built yet. And I see two figures coming from opposite sides to meet, and they're talking and they shake hands. And I know in my heart that those two figures are Hel and Loki, right? And they're making some deal about how this land, will, or whatever around here will foment greed and jealousy. And, you could see like the land became dark as they kind of agreed to whatever. I couldn't hear them. I mean, they were in the distance. And so I thought this was, in a sense, like it felt like, well, wait, who are these people out there? And then I look up at my mother, and she seems to see them as well. Like in my memory, like she sees them, but then pretends like she doesn't, and then starts talking to my father. And, that's kind of the end of that scene.
Nice.
Yeah. What do we know about the ceremonial dagger?
The ceremonial dagger is it's kind of a symbol of his lineage. That back in the mainland, his family is an old family and a member of the gentry, and that's maybe another reason why Sigrid would have wanted to have the farm go have her daughter marry Torun, was because he was a member of that family. However, since the since we're in Iceland and we don't have the same contacts and any kind of government really to say any of my children, if they were ever to go back, or the only way that they could prove that they were a member of this family would be through this dagger. Is that while there's records of Torun on the mainland, any like his son Ref or any children that he would have with Dala would need that dagger in order to claim any sort of birthright.
Oh no, that could prevent a marriage. Okay. Well, and now it's time to begin the funeral and to say farewell to the founder of the farmstead. Finn has died in a terrible accident while he was out and with Rev in the cliffs, and it's one of those hill graves, and I think it's for the Gothi to tell us a little about what Finn can expect in his next life. What is happening to him? What does Njal think about Finn secretly, and what is he not speaking to everybody?
Well, I mean, Finn is obviously getting a fully respectful and fully rites of a funeral, because I wouldn't want to, funerals are for the living, and Sigrid needs this sort of milestone to close that chapter of her life and move forward. Personally, for Finn, I don't know. It's sort of a selfish thing. I don't know if I believe that he was necessarily an evil man that did bad things, but he obviously ruined what could have been for Sigrid's life, and that's a fairly significant thing in and of itself, to have darkened this wonderful woman's existence for so long. So he sort of hopes maybe he'll have to serve people in the great feast halls of the afterlife, or maybe he'll have to watch after the dogs or something like that.
Possibly. Aki and Sigrid are coming together, and Aki is helping his mother up. She is a very elegant woman. She has a lot of charisma, but she's not the youngest anymore. Still, you can see a scorn in her eyes, and same goes for her son. Something you maybe not see in Dala's face. We will figure out how Dala feels today. Her father's dead, but she's climbing up there. It's a rough path you go up, and some neighbors have also come who knew Finn for a long time, And like many people around here depend on the healing herbs, which only grow here for some reason. And so there's also always a good time to negotiate and to sell a little bit, and we will see with the man's move how this is going to turn out. And when she's up there and wants to say farewell to her husband, Sigrid stands up, says, "This is a sad day for me. I have to say farewell to my husband, who has accompanied me nearly my whole life, since I was 12. We founded this place, and we wanted to see it flourish. We had to figure out compromises on our way. We had to see friends come and go, people who were close to us and who died outside on the ocean." You can see hear the waves coming louder suddenly, as if the gods reply to her. And everybody is getting goosebumps. But the farmstead has to change to survive. But for us, it's important that those who have always been there for the farmstead are able to incorporate this change and not being it thrown on them. Aki is then tugging his mother away before she continues talking, because it seems she becomes even more. Whew, wasn't it already enough to insult a man who was around? Or do you feel somehow comfortable with this? Because there is a move called when your honor is in question. But it's up, in this case, up to the player to decide if you consider this as an insult or not.
Yeah, I'll say I consider this an insult.
So when your honor is in question, you need to roll plus gendered.
All right.
And on a 10 plus, you rebuke them without trouble. On the 7 to 9, your word is not enough.
Okay, so let's see. All right, well, that is an 8.
Whew. So your word is not enough, but they will offer you a way to prove it. I think it's important that in your speech towards Finn, you show them how you will run the farmstead. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That you will be a good leader.
Yeah, and and when she says that, Torun gets up and says, "Yes, the farmstead must change, but the farmstead must change hands, but the prosperity brought by Finn and Sigrid will not. I will, continue to work the land, and I will take over Finn's obligations. And in order for this farm to flourish, I will exceed his previous obligations as a man with something to prove."
Hear, hear. Let's see what Dala says about that.
So Dala the whole time doesn't have that same fierce look in her eyes. Yeah, she definitely has. Anybody looking on would think, oh, sorrow, and she's grieving, for her father. But there is no anger or, you don't see that. But behind her eyes, what she's doing as she sees her mother there is she's been there the whole time. She knows when her mother and father do and don't get along, and how, she hears her mother talk about, working together over the years, and she kind of imagines herself as her mother standing over the grave of Torun, which could be her husband years later, right? So she's thinking, oh, I may have to make this speech one day. Let me see what I can learn from my mother, who, I mean, sure, she loves her husband, however you define that. And so that's the main thing that she's doing. And then she sees Tarun speak up, and she again, it's like she's definitely intrigued by this man. She has been around this man. There is some attraction there. At the same time, she's not thinking about the attraction or any love. She's thinking, one day I may be standing over his grave, and how will I look as regal as my mother? That's what she's thinking.
Wow. So when you are asked to also step forward to the grave, and how does that look like? Do you say something, or do you just make a gift or something? Or
so this is before we've been betrothed, right? Betrothed, I think. What do you guys think? Is it, or has that already come to pass?
I think it was agreed already by Finn.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, that
Yeah,
sounds
like
good.
in this arrangement to get this mighty family to the farmstead.
So I think at this point, my Dala realizes she has to make a decision, because she knows what her brother's opinions are, right? And that her brother would rather somehow take control of the farm. And she sees her mother and her brother on one side, and then Tarun just makes his speech kind of on the other side. And she actually walks over and stands next to Tarun.
Okay. Is it worth when you entice a man?
I think so. I think what I would do is, I would, I make this a public showing, right? So this isn't something that anyone would have any doubts about. I'm showing exactly where I'm standing and what I'm committing to. And in fact, I even maybe, hold his arm or something, something which shows that connection. So yeah, I would say so.
Then roll plus young.
All right. That would be a 7.
7, you hold 1. And
Okay.
you can spend your hold 1 for 1 at any time to give them -1 on any of their rolls, or they can spend your hold by truthfully answering your questions, giving you worthy gifts, or acting in your name and favor.
Awesome.
So at this point in the game, it might make sense that you simply pick a list, an option from the look into someone's heart list, and maybe they then answer truthfully. Torin, if that is fine for you, and it's just a suggestion to the two of you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the okay.
So for example, so you're saying instead of doing one of those specific ways of using the hold, I could also use it too, right?
To ask one of the questions, like for example, what he feels for you.
Right. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and spend it and say, how does your character feel about this, or about me, or whatever?
Torin thinks Torin wants control of the farm. He thinks that it's especially with your father gone, he is the highborn man, and that it is his obligation to take over the farm and to marry you. He is, and I think that the attraction is mutual, but for him it's kind of like a dangerous attraction, whereas he sees your character, and he's kind of and knows some things about what she sees, and he thinks that it's like these are bad omens. Like this is someone, it's like that she's seeing these things. These are bad omens, but there is still an attraction there, and she is also marrying her is the key to cementing his rightful place at the head of this farmstead.
Okay.
But Njal, I have one question for you about the funeral. Do you want to let to know Sigrid what you think of her already? Or is that too early? Or do you don't want to, but still she figures out?
I feel like it's too early to tell her, but I was thinking about trying to catch Aki to the side at some point.
Oh, please, yeah. Yeah, you have an opportunity for that.
And I think we, I'm trying to console him, and it basically leads around into an argument about Torun, because he doesn't quite, I think, want to come out and accuse me in person on his father's funeral, and I don't quite want to talk to him about, hey, why are you being such a little shit?
Indeed, yeah. Since you're a man, this needs to end up in an insult at another man. However, you could also tempt fate and try to talk sense with him, which is a female attitude you usually lack. But I think you are wise enough that, well, we could handle that this is happening at the tree, because there's something sacred to be brought from the tree. So you might roll with +1.
Okay, and I think I am going to try and, for the sake of Sigrid and the peace of this day, try and talk sense to him about how, like, I've seen the way he looks sidelong at Torun. I've seen the way he reacts to this shift in leadership here at his farm. But I'll explain to him very carefully that Torun comes from an important and powerful family, and that's a great boon for his sister, obviously, but it can also be a great boon for Aki. If this union of their families goes forward, someday he could go back to Torun's family and be welcomed into a much higher station than he has here. And so I'm going to try and talk sense to him, and also use my elder advice thingamajigger.
I see. Yeah.
Which is sort of
That's
twisted,
kind of
but
advice, yeah.
he's an NPC. I'm sort of twisting him around into coming to me for advice.
So, yeah. Well, somehow he is involuntarily, but still, yeah.
So that's a tempt fate to pull it off, but then if I do, the elder would engage. Is that how it works?
Yep.
Okay. And that's weird, and I have a +1 because we're in the temple. But that's a 5.
But that's a 5. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
the elder
just
move doesn't.
Sorry, just a quick question. With the is the move that's being used when you raise your voice and talk sense, or something else?
Yeah, that's the sense that I was getting, Garrett, that you were saying tempt fate in order to emulate the talk sense move that I don't have, and then if that worked, I could use the elder. Is that what we were doing?
Yes, yeah. And I mean, the elder move goes without rolling any dice. So you simply would give them advice, and then you take 1 bond. But I would say you tempt fate by trying to do so without insulting him because of the tense situation.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the original rules don't say that if you have the wrong gender and another gender move would apply, that you would emulate that with tempt fate, but you still have to tempt fate then if you do something in that sense. So talking sense is something men simply can't do, so they tempt fate, and you roll the tempt fate move.
Gotcha.
which says on a 10 plus you pull it off, on a 7 to 9 you pull it off, but the fates gain a bond with you. On a miss, misfortune strikes. Well, and there we have it, and I would say we bring it to an end that we still can then push forward in time half a year. Let's not the earth collapse or the tree above you. But still, like at a place like your temple, and you talking sense, and somehow the gods, they know that this place from Hell and Loki is cursed to a certain degree. And this is the first time you feel that, like what the young Dala felt when she arrived with the boat there. And somehow inside of you, you feel that this cannot end in any other way than greed, jealousy, and everything bad what comes after. And you see in the vision blood coming from the tree above you. It's just a vision. And you feel like that Aki is saying something similar.
So is my feeling that like this tree, this shrine in particular is cursed and not what people thought it was? Or is it something more like spread over this land and this temple is sort of an exempt spot from it? What am I sort of feel there?
The second. It's the farmstead in the land around it, or the people who have found their destiny there.
But I at least personally still have faith in this tree and this temple.
I would say so. Or do you want it differently?
No, I'm okay with that. I just wanted to get a sense of where that balance was.
Yeah. And I take a point of fate against you.
Boo.
So whenever I want, I can give you -1 on a roll, which is really bad. However, I would say that you still got the +1 in bond on Aki, because what you said is something he still would love to believe. It's not that he doesn't want a happy ending for everybody.
And he still gets the +1 forward, which I know he doesn't roll, but it's sort of like a little incentive for him to remember my words.
Yeah, just remind me, and maybe we can simply push that +1 forward back to you then. That makes sense. Cool. Okay. Shall we now fast forward and let the man and the woman do their roles about the fortune of the farmstead?
Yeah. Let's
or is there anything else you would like to see on the funeral?
I'm good with funeral.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Then both the man and the female and the woman playbooks have a move to be rolled. So we haven't considered which obligations the farmstead has yet. And the idea was that each player takes 1 obligation. And since this is a one-shot, it's not that important what we take. It's just if it fails, then we have a problem. So the man himself, he picks 1 obligation from the lower list. Choose 1 obligation you dare not to break. So this is something really important and terrible if it goes wrong. And the other 2 could take 1 obligation from the upper list. It's on the 2nd tab in the characters keeper. Jarl, do you already have something you would like to see on the obligations list? If you have it in front of you.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. Well, I mean, I'll go with the obvious one. I think we have a very important betrothal here.
Yes. Yeah, you need to work on that betrothal. So, and Dala, do you have this one? Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'm trying to understand. So with the farm obligations, are they? These are obligations for all of us. It's the farmsteads itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Torun is going to roll a move that sees how we do on this, and if we actually finish off an obligation, we'll get that first prize in the parentheses. But there's also an outcome where there could be disasters, which would be that second phrase in the parentheses.
Got it. Okay. Let's say I want to say building an improvement to your farm. I mean, we're very closely located to this shrine, right? And as Niall was saying, you know, the word has kind of gone out far and wide, and you know, people know about it and its fortune. So maybe, you know, I don't know, part of that is making this like the farmstead that is associated with it, or you know, almost like a pilgrimage site, right? Or like working up to that. Are we building like something that can house people who are visiting or need help, or that kind of thing?
Indeed, yeah, we have
Nice.
a Gothi. Not everybody has a Gothi.
Yeah.
So people come there for marriages and having a judge. Okay, then we need one from the Dare Not to Break list. Torun.
I will say paying debts, because part of the agreement with Sigrid was still that he would pay her for the farm, and essentially pay her enough to live comfortably on her own without her husband taking care of her. So that's he dares not avoid paying his debts.
Yeah, which comes from your family somehow. Yeah. Okay. Then we should first roll the woman's move, let's say, which is on her character sheet.
Yeah, that is running the house.
That is running the house.
Okay, and my gendered is 1. Ooh, that is 11. I know how to run the house.
You know how to run the house.
Nice.
That means everything is in order. You can
And
even make a little bit of silver.
Yes.
And since this is a one-shot, all this silver economy is not paying so much off. So I would say you could transfer that into a gift you have for somebody at the farm and take a bond with somebody.
Okay.
If you have an idea for a gift and whom to give it to.
Oh yes, I'm going to give a gift to my betrothed husband, of course.
Ah. Oh, what is it?
Ooh. So one of the things I start with is a box with jewelry worth some silver, right? So I have basically like and so forget about the jewelry for a second, but the box itself is, like a beautiful kind of inlaid, I mean, it's craftsman work, like a, old family heirloom, right? And in that box, I present to my husband, or my husband to be, a necklace that I have made. So the actual chain itself, I mean, it's not a chain, but it's weaved from stuff around here. But the little item that's on the bottom is special. That is one of the little trinkets from the shrine that has been stolen. One of those little what do you call them?
Those
little,
I guess charms.
Yeah, so it's one of those charms.
Awesome.
Nice. And it's up for Torun, the man, to show us how good he could run a farm.
This is plus gendered. Let's see. 11.
On a 10 plus, you get profit from all the obligations you chose, which is all of them. because we only fixed 3 of them. And you can say that you finished one of those obligations.
Okay.
So,
we'll say that I'm tempted to just say I paid off the debt, but I did say that I would exceed, the Finn. So I will say that I'll finish the building an improvement to the farm.
okay.
And I don't know if anyone has any ideas, but I guess we could do like a stable or herd of sheep, or even newly discovered thermal spring. I don't know. Does anybody have any ideas on that?
There was also the idea to improve the accessibility of the sacred place.
Oh yeah, that's true.
A roof in front of it, or a little altar, or something.
Yeah. We'll even say that the we actually build, kind of a proper temple around the sacred place with an altar and everything.
Okay, and your betrothal made progress. You got to know your future wife, a little bit better. And the farmstead is still having money flowing in from your rich family, as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
All goes well. If only at the farmstead everybody was thinking the same. So I would say we start with opening at the temple, at the new temple, and open up the temple, right? Is that a good place to start for everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yes, cool. Okay, so people gather around this new temple, and I think it's up for the Gothi to decide how it actually looks like, what has been built there.
So I think on the 2 cliff faces there, because it's sort of in a split between 2 cliffs, or 1 cliff that's had part of it fall out, whatever. But I think it's sticking with the tree idea. It's an open air thing. There's not really a roof, but they have built these stone pillars and arches that make sort of a semicircle reaching back behind the tree. And they're, especially the ones that get further away from the cliff face, they're actually anchored deep enough in that there are lines that run from the top of them into the trunk and main branches of the tree to try and give more support for the tree, sort of lift some of the weight up off of its roots. And I think along those lines, they've the family and the people of the farmstead have crafted or purchased more little wind things and things that look like the original charms that are still on the tree, but sort of spreading it out into these lines that spider away from the tree itself.
Cool. So does everybody like that, what they see? Is
Yeah.
that how you expect the temple to look like?
That's great.
No,
Also in character?
Dala does not like it.
Oh.
Woo. Would you like to express your concerns?
Oh, yes. I think that there's maybe that first moment where she realizes that there's all these charms that people have added, but those are not the real charms. Those are just, it's fluff, right? It's a show, and it means nothing. Like, the charms themselves are real, and that's why this shrine is what it is, right?
Mm.
So I think there's, I don't know to what extent she will, how easily these can be grasped, but and who's around, but definitely within her mind, she's thinking, I want to take all these fake things and tear them down.
Wow.
And your mother, Sigrid, is coming to you and whispers in your ears, do you feel the same? Do you feel the same? And she's looking also with a very concerned look at the tree. We've been here for so many years. What have these men done to it? What do they think they can do? Like, they come here and they are not even here for a year.
They've
And
ruined
they want
it.
to change.
They're going to ruin
They've
us.
ruined it.
It's the only thing protecting us.
If we want to stay close to the gods, we should tell them right here, right now, what our concerns are, not to lose their support. The Gothi might have a connection to them, but my feeling for the last 6 months here was somehow different. I think he's not that close to the gods. I think he is very much bound to Earth, not to the spell.
And everyone's there, right? Tarun and Niall, and right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to approach Niall about this, but Tarun, yes. Tarun, you know, I sidle over to him and I get close enough where it's not inappropriate externally, but I want him to smell me. I want him to feel our clothes touch, so he can feel that proximity. And I'm gonna reach up. I'm imagining you're a little bit taller than I am, and whisper in your ear, "It's sacrilege. All these fake charms, they need to go. They're going to cause us danger."
And he kind of looks down at you, and and he kind of does the same, and he whispers in your ear. It's like, this is all done for the glory of the gods. How can it be sacrilege to increase the value of this place?
But it's not value, it's cheap trinkets. Only the real value needs to be put up there. The gods will look at that and they will laugh. They will laugh at us, and they will throw down their judgment.
The gold in these trinkets is just as real as the gold that was already hanging there.
Is it time
Gold is
to grab the
gold.
dice before we continue the dialogue? For me, that's a goad a man into action.
Yeah. I think there's definitely going to be part of it, which is, I thought you were here to better the family and to better our plot. Do you not listen to your wife? And, or to your wife to be? Do you not believe what I have to say? And I'm trying to get him to, what is it, gendered?
Plus gendered, yes.
That's good. That is a snake eyes, so I get a 3.
Oh,
Oh,
Ooh.
so not even your bonds, or you have 2 with him, could help you there. No. That doesn't sound so convincing.
No, I
but
probably
quite the
sound a little
opposite.
bit hysterical almost. Like, what is this
Ah.
garbage she's going on about?
Yeah, at that point, Torun kind of will take you by the arm and just be like, come, wife, you need to sit down, please. You're embarrassing me.
Yes.
Ooh. It could have even been insulting to you. I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Well-
I was maybe loud enough so that others would have heard, maybe even Niall.
Oh, that would be really bad. Yes. But
Hmm.
let's first see, Torben, do you think your honor is put into question here? Not quite yet, right?
I don't think he is too. I don't think he is, because I think that what she said, like, as you said, she kind of came off a little bit shrill and a little bit strange, and so I think that it's people. I don't think people are questioning anything that Torun has done yet, or Torun doesn't
All right.
consider it an insult, his honor to be in question.
Okay. Then I need to ask Mjal if he has overheard something or sees it as an insult that his prayer is interrupted like this.
Well, I can't hear exactly everything that she was sort of screeching about over there, but I like I'm not dumb. I can see the agitation there. And I can certainly see the sort of Sigrid's face. She's not enjoying this like I had imagined she would. I mean, this is an honor to her family's legacy and their farmstead, and she doesn't seem happy like she should.
No, she doesn't. And Sigrid neither.
And I think I will move to her and like lean down and ask if she would like to come, worship personally up at the shrine. And I want to look into her heart while I'm doing that.
Is this with Sigrid or with Dala?
With Sigrid.
Yeah.
You avoided a direct confrontation, so am I.
Yes.
Great.
Cool. We're not exploding in the very first minute.
But yeah, just to what does Sigrid wish I would do here?
Well, Sigrid. Well, in the last 6 months, you have learned to trust her on specific topics. On other topics, you don't really know what to think of her. There's also something she's hiding from. Something deep, something which seems to be important to her. But it seems that what she wants from you here right now is to give a very clear sign that you respect that those who lived longer at this farmstead, like Aki and her and Dala, also want to contribute something to this new temple. So you should somehow invite her to also bring something to this temple, something which is also something which you would not necessarily like to see, or something which is against your beliefs, possibly. Maybe you have an idea, but that could calm the situation. Like there is, yeah.
I'm not sure.
What that could be.
Does anybody else have an idea?
From the herb garden, there is this very special flower, which is in bright yellow with a red pollen in the middle. And if this flower was growing up there next to the tree, something I think he would appreciate if you bring that up.
Okay, so I think maybe it's a flower that grows on like a vine, like a sort of parasitic vine, and she's brought it up before as something that's native to this area and that she thinks should be incorporated onto the tree itself. And my worries have been about the health of the tree. But on this day, I mean, this whole thing was supposed to make her happy, and I think maybe this is finally the point when I would break and say, yes, okay, fine. I do think that's maybe a good idea. If that will make you and your family more comfortable with the shrine, obviously you know best. And so I will. I'll get up in front of everyone, and I'll thank the people of the farmstead and the workers that erected these stone arches and that set all this up, and say that they have made lovely additions and an expansion and to the temple, and a way to carry it forward into the future. But to respect its past, the family here, Sigrid in particular, has a final offering that she would like to make at the shrine. And I think I've given her time to go get a cutting or selection of it to then bring it up and while I sort of cringe, she plants it in some dirt that's caught in like some of the where the bigger branches connect to the trunk.
Yeah, it's interesting because for I don't track like bonds for NPCs. They don't have bonds, but I would say that Fate gains one bond over you for this, because the temple has a different meaning now. A meaning you don't completely control. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
That
it was
sounds good
sort
to you?
of in its sort of tenuous hanging nature, it's always been a bit separate from the land around it, and maybe that's part of what's kept the taint of this land off of it, but this is very much bringing a piece of the land onto the tree itself.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Okay.
Dalla, Sigrid is asking you to accompany her to bring the flowers. Does that calm you down? Is that something which would also, like, she seems to be confident with this change in events?
Only in that it allows me to. I know that it will. I can't do anything there right now, so it allows me to be able to gather my thoughts and maybe even talk to her. Maybe she's even asking me along so that we can discuss the situation separate from the men. So yeah, in that sense, I think I would have calmed down a little bit, but I'm still inside. It's
Dalla, I took the opportunity in the background to take a point of fate on you, and I want to spend that immediately to look into your heart. So Sigrid is asking you a question, and I want to learn something about you, which is, would you be okay with Torgun dying and not taking over the farm, but me instead marrying Niall? I think he's easier to manipulate. She's not saying that so directly, but in her way down, it seems like that this is what she wants to tell you. What would need to happen that this is okay for you?
That's a good question. I think in a way, there's a part that Dalla is almost not ready to admit to her mother. And I mean, this will come through. I think her mother will realize it, whether she says it verbally or not, that she is in some ways attracted to Tarun. She sees him. I think he's a bit older. She's still very young in some sense. And so she kind of sees him as almost like both as someone she's attracted to, but also has some of those qualities now that her father is gone, some of that protection and the comfort and, stability. So there's that kind of mix of things. So there's a part of her which I think would be upset if that were to suddenly be ripped away. At the same time, Tarun has just shown her that he is not ready to protect her on the, is not ready to protect her in the way that she wants to be protected, right? Or maybe is not listening to her. And so she has these doubts about whether he is the right one. And maybe it is time to just wait and find somebody better. So I think maybe that's what she needs to hear, is whether or not, like, what does the future hold? This would change a lot of things, and she is,
It will, my dear daughter. Like, formally, your brother would take over the farm, and practically I would still run the farm, and we would need to find a way how to remarry you to somebody else. It's very complicated, I know, but the gods have not spoken yet. We first need to figure out what the gods, the spirits, want us to do. when the flowers are brought and planted on the tree, everybody is back for a prayer. And that is Torun, when you realize that Aki has disappeared from the scene. And you see him down, he's on his way back to the farm. And you have a bad feeling about that.
Yeah, Torun is going to go try to intercept Aki.
Mm-hmm.
On his way back.
Uh-huh. It's your
And
farmstead. You know the best by now, so you know how to intercept him. Yes.
Yeah. So he kind of takes. Aki's kind of going in kind of a straight line, but just he's just kind of, he's just thinking, it's like, I'm just going to go straight ahead, but Torun knows that if you actually, the roads are actually quicker, that the terrain is actually quite rocky. And he just kind of runs around the road and meets him outside the farmstead, and he just asks him, it's like, why do you need to be at the farm when everybody else is gone? It's like, are you a thief? Only a thief would do such a thing.
I'm not the thief here. You have proven yourself to be a thief. You want to steal this farmstead from me and my mother, and my sister. What do you think you are?
I'm not stealing anything. I am taking your sister as my wife, and in addition to that, I am paying your mother a great deal of silver. I am paying for this farm.
Or your silver or your gold from your family is nothing you have earned. You just take over what others have done. You haven't achieved anything.
I have achieved a great deal more than you, Aki, because do you think that if your mother really trusted you to run this farm, that any amount of silver would get her to disinherit you? This farm under normal circumstances would be yours, but your mother decided not to give it to you, and the only reason she would do that is if she did not think that you were fit to run this farm.
Oh.
Well, I think you managed to insult him more than he managed to insult you.
Yeah.
Which I always find it interesting, because usually it happens at the same time. You are insulted and you insult somebody else, and I think this time it's very obvious that you threw an insult at another man. So, and you said what they lack. So you rolled plus gendered.
Oh, let's see. So that's plus 2. So that is a 10.
That's good. So on a 10 plus, they choose 1. They bear the insult, confirming its truth in everyone's eyes. Ooh. Or they act to prove otherwise. Aki is heavily insulted, and I think what happens at the temple and the breakdown of his sister, and when he saw like how Niales likes getting closer to his mother, and so I'm sorry to say, but with a deep growl, says, "You are nothing. You came here. I was here first. This is my farmstead supposed to be." And he's attacking you with his bare hands. He wants to prove you otherwise. Which is very dishonoring for him, that you let himself being. I think you need accept a physical challenge here.
All right. All right.
And I don't have any fate on you. So good for you.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I'm not as Not as young as I am gendered. So, all right. 7.
Choose 2 out of 3. You
Okay.
don't tempt fate while doing it. Your actions are honorable and admirable, or you win the challenge. 2 out of 3.
All right. So, yeah. Well, I guess I'll just say you have fate over me now. My actions are honorable and admirable, and I win the challenge.
All right. So let's you don't tempt fate while doing it means you need to roll another move. So this is much snowballing. One move to another, I have to admit. So you need to roll plus weird next, and then we can resolve fictionally what has happened. If you don't get your grave harm while doing that.
All right. Well, I got a 6 on tempt fate.
Can I help out there with a bond?
If you have a good explanation for that, I mean, fortunately you are a man of faith and spirits. Maybe that could help.
Could this maybe be sort of a flashback thing to Torn and our younger days when maybe I took more a part in like training him physically with swordsmanship after his father died? So this is maybe some like move or dodge that we had worked together before, like a scene of a very young Torin and a middle-aged Njal, who he's like teaching him how to spin and dance around blows.
So it's good for you, Torin?
Sounds good to me.
All right. That we can bring it to the fiction. So now on the 7 to 9 result on tempt fate, now I get a point of fate on you. And on a misfortune, we would have rolled another move, which is endure grave harm. And if you miss on that, you die. So that's how quickly it can go.
All right.
Yeah, fights get real serious real quick.
Yes, very serious. Okay, so I get a point of fate, but now we can fictionally resolve finally what has happened. So, Aki has attacked you with his arms, and he had his hand already around your neck to strangle you. His head is red of anger and scorn, and I think that's the moment when the others from the top could start seeing what is going on down there.
Yeah, and
he's attacking you.
And Torun kind of, with the kind of flash, we have the flashback of him being taught by Njal, and he just kind of, dances and avoids his blows. He slips out of his grip very quickly and, and just kind of avoids his blows and gets in quick jabs and just makes Aki look even more hot-headed that, he just keeps coming at me, and all I need to do is do one simple thing, and he's on his face, and he's on his face again. And
I think up at the top of the hill, as Njal is seeing this, like he's definitely very old and can't move like that anymore, but he's sort of like shadow boxing and moving in time with what Torrin is doing, and like nodding proudly at him.
Oh, good. Yeah, and it ends with Aki like stumbling and falling with his face forward onto the ground, right? And so he's full of mud. Gets on his knees, heavily breathing. Looks up to you. Right. I go back. Now it's time to call it a day. And with his head deeply down, he goes back. And on the top of the hill, you can see the worried face of his mother standing next to Njal. And one of the yellow flowers, which was just planted, was a little bit injured while pairing up with it. It was knocking down its head as well at the same moment when Aki was going down the ground. But Dala, how do you feel about this?
You know, I don't think I know Aki is hot-headed. I know that, you know, being like, if he was running the farm, we would have other troubles. I don't think I have, you know, only fond memories of growing up with him. You know, I think he's a bit, you know, rough and doesn't think well. And so, you know, I'm not concerned about that, but it gives me an idea, this whole thing, because everyone is distracted by this. And I realize that's what I need to do, is create a distraction when the time is right to go and fix the temple.
Right, yeah, that sounds good. Shall we fast forward to the next day?
Sure. There's actually, so there's something I want to prepare for, which would just be things that kind of you see in the background. They're nothing major. And in fact, I could actually just mention them later. So yeah, let's fast forward to the next day.
Yeah. Or anybody.
Do we want to maybe fast forward to like the wedding or the preparations for it?
That sounds good. I think it stayed relatively stable until the wedding movie, maybe. Yep.
Yeah, like
Okay, so
like
there's
maybe
one thing I want to
maybe
do before the wedding then, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to
Sorry,
say maybe this idea sort of festers in the back of Dala's mind, and she doesn't actually act on it until like the night before her wedding when she can't stand it anymore.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Torun?
So, yeah.
Do you want to so to say epilogue that day for your character? I think it turned out quite glorious for you.
Yeah. And he kind of, you know, he attempts to play this off with, you know, as people, you know, gather around. He attempts to play this off, and you know, he just says, not, you know, he doesn't, he neglects to specifically insult Aki. He is trying to appear as a gracious, you know, patriarch, but he says that, you know, like just as with Finn, I will not allow, you know, the foolhardy to endanger us all. I will not allow, you know, thieves to flourish. I will not allow, you know, the you know, it's like the stupid to influence.
Yeah. Well, Aki is under control for now. Like, that victory of yours was giving a clear sign to everybody. So we go forward to the wedding, and let's say it's the evening before the wedding. At the fire, when the family is still on their own, so guests will only arrive the next morning. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
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 So then I'm very curious about what Dala has had in mind.
So I think there's a moment that she's planning for, because maybe, you know, the night before there's certain kind of celebration stuff. Maybe some of it has to do with the men a little bit more than the women, or the, you know, they separate a little bit for some ceremonial things on one end or the other, right? And what she wants is to distract the men from you know, being anywhere near the temple, right? And you know, I'd expect that. Oh, well, I don't know. Does most of this celebration? So I'll ask Niall there. Does it happen? Does the temple figure prominently into this, or is it kind of like in the homestead that we're all eating and celebrating, drinking, whatever?
I'd say, if for purely practical reasons, if not religious reasons, like there's a lot of drinking that happens in preparation for a wedding, and that tree's really precarious. So maybe we don't quite go and do our preparations there. Maybe we stay on more solid ground and wait to go out onto the tree until hangover time.
Yeah. So I think what Dala has planned, she's got a sewing kit. That's one of the things I took. She's got still the jewelry, which she separated from the box. So her intention was to replace the rest of the, I call them Odin's tears, the original items, right? And so to replace the rest of those with the jewelry and, you know, with threading and that kind of thing, just like the new ones that were created.
Oh, fuck. So you're taking the original ones?
Yes, the rest of the original ones. So in her heart, she believes, and she believes that her mother also believes, that that is what protects the place and protects the people. And I think there's this kind of like flashback of even before this was a temple, right? Before Niall came and anybody, you know, when her mother first discovered these trinkets, the family discovered them hanging. You know, her mother took one down and gave it to her to wear as protection. And so, you know, her intention is, I'm going to take these, I'm going to wear them or give them to those people I need to protect from all the jealousy and other horrible things that will happen on this land. Since it cannot be shared, obviously, it's already being pieced out and destroyed. So at least she can protect herself and her mother.
So you're using your skilled hands
Yes.
to do that. Make or prepare something and you want it to be special. Roll plus versed.
Oh, definitely special.
Very
All right.
special.
So, ooh, that is a 10 plus 2, so 12. So on a hit, pick 2. Someone desires it or more of it. It doesn't cost you too much to make it. It's durable or long-lasting. Yeah, I mean, I think I would say someone desires it, meaning in this case, what I make is almost more desirable than what I've taken, right? I've taken these little trinkets that, although beautiful and had some significance, they don't look as pretty as now they're jewels, right? I'm using precious, you know, things is what I'm thinking. So they will desire that, and maybe they won't care as much about what is lost. And with the other one, I'm okay with either way. I mean, I already have the item, so I don't know if the middle one makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it's durable or long-lasting or something.
I think this is a powerful potential magic item, at least
Right.
in the minds of the Vikings. And the one who desires it might be the spirits. And fortunately, because it was a hit, good intended spirits, well-intended spirits. So who do you want to be protected through this? It's your choice.
I would say my mother. You know, in a sense me, but she's already protected me originally by giving me one of these, and so this is my way of giving back to her and protecting her.
Okay, that sounds good. I think she could need it because she could become the center of attention here when something goes wrong. She's thanking you, my daughter. I know what this is for, and you and I know that we both need it, and I will be there for you when you need me. And whatever happens, I want you to live on and to be happy. Well, you all drank a little bit, so everybody is quite emotional. And I wanted to ask Torvun if this is the time about the ceremonial dagger to bring that into play, or its disappearance. Tomorrow is the wedding, so tomorrow should also be the day when it should be presented and become part of this homestead, right?
Yes.
Is that the evening when you discover that it disappeared, or has it disappeared already long ago?
Yeah, I think it's when he discovers that it disappears. He he keeps it at the bottom of a chest, at the foot of his bed, and he opens it up, and it's just not there. The chest, I would say, it's like with this community, it's not, he doesn't have a lock to put on it, but he doesn't see anything disturbed, but the dagger is gone.
The dagger is gone. Ooh, that's a bit scary, isn't it? Has anybody else noticed that you are shocked?
Dala probably would. I think she knows me enough to know that, like, I looked in there and and something's wrong. But
What is it? What is it, husband to be?
he closes the chest, and he looks to you, and he just says, something has been stolen from me.
Oh, I well know the feeling. How? What is this that's been stolen?
It is what it is isn't important, but know that it is valuable, and it is valuable to us, and it is valuable to our future children.
Yes, I know exactly how that is.
And right now, Torun is wrestling with accusing her brother of stealing it on their wedding night. But he says, do you know anybody who would do such a thing? Anyone brash enough to do such a thing?
Torun, before you talk so much sense,
yeah, that is true.
Is it worth tempting fate instead of insulting somebody immediately?
Yeah, that's true. So
you could roll tempt fate. Fortunately, you have quite a lot of bonds with people around you, and so people can support you getting over the 6-, maybe, if necessary.
Yeah, you know what? We've only got about a half hour left, so he's going to he's going to say that to Dawa, and then as he says it, it's like every time he says somebody impulsive enough, and he looks towards Aki, and the camera zooms in, even when he's just like someone with someone that would have reason to hate me, and so he reaches into his chest, pulls out his hatchet, and just beelines it just across the room to Aki, and just and basically just says, yells, "Thief! I caught you in the act of thievery once. You have stolen something from me. I want what is mine. Thief! How dare you?"
Whoa, that's another insult you have to throw on him, I would say. However, we could still ask the woman around us to talk sense before this turns out into a blood orgy. Chance to talk sense, if you like that.
I think Dala definitely sees that intention, right? Like as soon as he picks up the hatchet from the chest, her eyes go wide, and she runs kind of to interject herself between Torun and his destination, right? And I don't think Aki even sees it yet, right? We can see him in the background, kind of like not paying attention or drinking or, whatever, maybe even brooding, right? He doesn't look happy. But she gets in the center and puts her hand out on Torun's chest and is like, still yourself. We don't know. We don't know who's taken this. It could be anybody. I understand. you and my brother are where you are, but it's my wedding night. Like, I kind of don't know what to say, and finally there's it's my wedding night, right?
Oh, yeah. Roll plus worst if you talk sense.
Yes, let's talk sense. Oh, that's 8 plus 2, 10, so hold 3.
Yeah, so a lot of a hold you have to spend on favorable course of action or warnings.
Nice. Okay. So
Yes.
I definitely, okay, so I caution against bringing the weapon, right? I tell him to calm himself and talk to the crowd and not to an individual, so he's not insulting one person, right? And can I spend the other one later? No. Advice.
Sure, yeah,
warning,
you have time.
Yeah. Let's do that for now. So it's, please put the axe away, and maybe talk to all of us. Maybe this is a misunderstanding.
Okay. So yeah, he does that. He looks to you and he just says, that is wise, thank you. I don't want to ruin your wedding night as much as it already is, but what has been stolen is essential for tonight. So he puts the axe down, and instead he stands up on a table and just yells to the crowd, there is a thief among us. There is, basically there was a ceremonial dagger in this, in this chest that is a symbol of me and my family. We meet, it's like, and he just says, it's like, to doing this, you have insulted me, you have insulted my future wife, and you have stolen it from our future children. How dare this thief live among us? It's like, if the thief is a man, may be a man and face me. If you know who it is, do what is right and give him to me.
He's setting up. Yep.
As like he's making this declaration, and there have been weapons briefly pulled, and everyone looks tense. Can I consider an uneasy situation?
Do so, yes.
Let's see. Nope, there it is.
Good that somebody is keeping an eye on everything.
That's an 8. Oh, which I would love to, but that's just 1. I'm looking around at people's reactions and trying to judge if there is anything going on, like what he said. What's the most I can make out of this situation?
All right. You know that I still have 2 fate points on you. So I could push that to a 6. And you could still ask the question. So the question you took was the...
what is the most I can make out of this situation?
Okay, yeah. I think you might be able to... I'm not using the fate here. I don't push you down. But I still might make so soon. So maybe you can tell me what you could make out of the situation. It can go pretty well.
So I don't know, unless you have something else. Like I think I see some sort of like guilt or recognition in Aki's eyes. But I think maybe I also like recognize someone else in the crowd that maybe Aki looks to sort of covertly, or like he had help with this.
Yeah, and for sure, there's Sigrid, and Sigrid has a very knowing smile, and you know her quite well by now. But she sees something going in the direction she wants to do it. But there's also something else you all recognize. That is that Ref, Torun's son, jumping up, and he seems to be concerned about something. He doesn't, it's like he's holding his head, and then he runs outside. He's leaving, and it's late night. It's not a time to leave the farmstead anymore. And he's running outside and running away from all of you. While Aki is standing there and still doesn't know what to say, because he's afraid of Torun. And he knows what Torun could do to him at any moment if he is doing something wrong. So you see his muscles tensing, but he's like a wild animal on a leash.
I think I share a look with Torun, like, you know, watch yourself, but I can't be here to protect you if I'm sorry, what's his name? Ref? Ref is run out there. I think those sort of familial feelings pass on to Ref as well, and I feel like I got to go check on what's happening there.
Okay. Dala, you are the one who have Aki under control. It's not Torun. Like, he might believe so, but actually you are the one. Like, he's on your lash.
Right.
What do you do?
You know, and Aki hasn't stood up and said anything, right? He's just, we can see that he's uncomfortable and he's tense and he's worried about what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I think I say something quite simple, which is maybe something that almost sounds innocent, like, oh, maybe this was misplaced, right? Obviously, it's not misplaced, right? I mean, we knew exactly where it was supposed to be, but maybe this is misplaced. All we need to do is search the farmstead and we will find it, right? Maybe if we work together, we can do so, right? And so trying to get everybody moving in a different direction instead of one of confrontation.
Uh-huh. And your mother wants to speak up and say something to the opposite, but you might be able to stop her with your last hold you still have on talking sense.
I think there is that moment where I turn to her and I see her coming up and I just whisper, "Tomorrow is my wedding day."
Oh.
But you know,
leans back.
Yeah.
The gods will decide tonight, she says. And then she also starts pretending to search for the dagger.
Right.
Under the bed? No, not really. But Torun, what are you doing?
He, Torun looks, and he kind of deflates a little bit and just says, yes. If there is basically, in respect of the sanctity of the ceremony that is about to take place, I will not spill blood before it. But if it has indeed been misplaced, if someone maybe mistakenly took it, now would be the time to produce this dagger.
Oh, sounds like tempting fate for me.
We can do that.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, all right. Roll plus weird. Well, that's a 3 for me.
Misfortune strikes, I would say. So the dagger disappeared, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Aki is on the other side, sitting there, and he doesn't seem to be the one, but Sigrid comes over to you. Yes, I know. Whispering to you, my daughter wants to marry you, but I tell you, you get your dagger back when you leave tonight and never return to my farmstead. I have talked to the gods, and say they see misfortune strike if you took over the farm. I will not let that happen. I'm very sorry. I know you could be a good man, but the spirits, they talk to me. And it's not going well for the farmstead as long as you are around. Leave tonight. Turn. Dagger, and I can tell you where it is.
Okay. And she's saying this so that other people can hear, or is she whispering it into my ear?
She's whispering it into your ear. Nobody shall hear that. Tonight. Cliffs,
Okay.
where Reft has gone, if you want, before you react to that.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
a good
because
cut.
Njal. Yeah, that might be a good cut. Njal, you are up in the cliffs because this is where Rev went to. Like, just where he and Finn found their Night of Destiny a long time ago. But you're not the youngest anymore, right?
Oh no, I'm very old and wheezy trying to follow this little kid.
So, is that something where you might...
Oh, like out of breath, wheezy.
Out of breath. Easy, yeah. But it's actually quite hard to follow him. And is that something where we could just directly jump in with Endure Grave Harm?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind mirroring a situation that might have happened on these cliffs already.
Indeed, yes. So Riff is down there, and you need to climb down there to get him. He's standing there watching the waves, whatever he's doing down there. Have the
Riff.
spirits talk to him?
Boy, you have to come up. No, it's not safe down there. The spirits are wild. Who knows what could happen there? Please, boy, you have to come up. And I'm like leaning and creeping further down as he's I think not responding and just sort of leaning further and further out over the waves.
Little
Yeah.
rocks falling
And
down
that
the
is-
cliffside.
With the full moon behind you, oh yes, that might be the situation. Maybe we first roll Tempt Fate.
I'm slightly better at that, sure.
Yeah, you have no chance anyway because the Fate is still pushing hard on you. But maybe, who knows?
Oh, that's a 4.
It doesn't need any support. So I think the rocks are falling below you in Rev's direction, and you need to hurry to get him because he is straight walking into the waves, which would be his end. What is
yeah,
he doing?
I think
you're Endure Grave Harm.
yeah, as I think I just throw like the creeping and the caution and the crawling to the wind, and I leap for him, leap like I know my body used to be able to do.
Okay.
And Grave Harm is young, which is a -1.
That's perfect. It's so
That's
perfect narratively.
3.
That's a 3, yeah. Whatever you have. So it's on a miss, it's fatal. Beyond help, and the MC will say how and when. We will switch back, but I can tell you that Rev is coming to support you. He is helping you up. But when you look into his face, it's not Rev's face you look into, but it's Loki's. Loki himself is looking knowingly in your face. And he says, "This is not your end. Don't worry, my friend. This is just the beginning."
And I think he has like a crown woven around his head that's made out of that vine and those yellow flowers.
Yes. Brought the flowers to my home. Indeed.
Awesome.
Torun and Dalar. So, what happens there in the farmstead, Torun?
All right. Torun has no intention of actually leaving tonight, but he needs the dagger back. So he just says, all right. So he says, all right, but on the condition you must bring the dagger to me tonight. And he just says outside the farmstead, bring the dagger to me.
And Sigrid is looking at you. And then she whistles. And at that moment, Aki is coming from behind and pushing you to the ground. This time, you will not escape me. Dala. What are you doing? Your mother is looking at you.
What am I doing?
Yes. You have to decide.
Honestly, at this point, the only way that I would marry Torun is if he can, in a sense, if he can prove that he deserves this housestead. So I give him this look like, well, this is your opportunity. Because if you can do it, then, we have more of these trinkets and maybe you deserve to be protected. But if not, that's what fate has held.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that sounds like, yes. Sigrid, out of her cloth, pulls the dagger and is about to hand it over to Aki. Did you let that happen, Dala?
I think I'm going to grab it, or try to prevent her from doing it. I mean, the two of them need to face each other as equals. There's
Indeed,
no, dagger, not dagger thing. This isn't a murder, right? So I think part of me stands up and is like, the gods would want them to decide as peers. This is not one man disgracing himself on another.
Indeed.
And so I just interject myself between my mother and Aki.
Yeah. So Sigrid is looking into your heart. I don't know if I have a bond, but I just take it deliberately, I would say, and says, "Who do you wish?"
I think she actually wishes that Torun would stand up and win, but then understand that she has helped that to occur, and so to listen to her, to not consider her as someone who is this hysterical person yelling at the temple or some other thing, but that she needs to be consulted as an equal, with an equal weight, as his own desires.
So we hear the spirits screaming in my background, because we reached the last roll for this game, and that's a physical challenge. Torun has to fight again, but this time it's serious.
How many? Do you have any fate on him?
I think he has one.
I have one.
Fate, yes.
And do I still have the +1 forward for following her 2 directions from earlier?
Because I said, no, don't bring an axe and all that kind of
And
stuff.
address the crowd.
Yes, and because it's on your farmstead, you roll your physical challenge with gendered instead of young.
Okay.
We forgot about this last time, but we took a man's domain.
Oh, okay. All right, so that is a total of +4 to my roll.
Oh, whoa, whoa. -1 from me, yes.
All right, so let's see. Well, I rolled boxcars, so
Oh, wow.
So
that's
end this.
yeah. So that is 15 after the minus.
Wow.
So yeah, Torun. They again. It's just basically it's just a repeat of the same thing, except now Aki is drunk, and and just this time he's just making all the same mistakes and doing everything he did before, but now he's stumbling over himself. And I think Sigrid, she still has the dagger in her hand and she's holding it, just at her side, and Aki snatches the dagger and he makes one last lunge at Torun, and and basically he just trips over the table on his way over and just impales himself with the dagger on his way down.
Wow. Yeah. And the house itself is screaming, while the farmstead, it seems, ends and changes in a way Sigrid wanted to avoid. And so Sigrid is looking at you, Torun. She's looking at you, my daughter, Dala. And then she's leaving the house, going outside. Without a single word. Very short epilogue for every character, if we want. Who wants to start?
I mean, I don't mind a little bit. Do we see Sigrid coming back, or do you think she's gone? Or should I just epilogue it?
I would see her going away. It could be that she's joining Njal for whatever journey he's doing, but we don't know.
So I think what happens is, we don't see her again. The next day, I find, I go to the water, and the necklace that I've made for her with all these Odin's tears has washed up to the shore, right? So I pick that up from the sand and it's wet, and nobody sees Niall. And so I go to the temple and I take down all the trash, all the trinkets and things that people have put up there, and I replace them with everything, including the one around my neck, right? So every single one of them goes back up, and you can see that Sigrid's the vine is still crawling along, around, or starting to crawl or grow around this tree. So maybe you kind of flash forward, a year or something. And I'm not going to speak to marriage or not marriage, but I'm there. I'm the one who is taking care of the temple. There's vines with those flowers all over the tree, and only the Odin tears trinkets are hanging there, and I'm there just doing some chanting or prayer or something.
Njal, do you want to go next? Let me know about your destiny. You don't have to die.
He doesn't die, but I think he disappears that night. and I think Ref disappears too. Like there's no bodies, there's nothing that's ever found. But I think there's a sort of scene several years down the road with an older Ref and a sort of ancient Niall out in a grove in the forest somewhere, talking to a group of people, and like this whole grove is surrounded with those yellow flowers, and Niall and Ref both have like them embroidered and worked into their clothes, and they're wearing some as like an amulet, and they're out there preaching the good word of Loki.
And it's about Torun to tell us about the farmstead.
I think Torun brings the misfortune that Sigrid thought he would, and what she considers misfortune he considers good, because the farmstead does well, but he has learned to defer to Dala as far as spiritual matters, but he's a man, he is not a believer of the gods truly. And so he's a man of the world, and he establishes with his family, he establishes contact again with the mainland, and establishes, and he begins to turn the farmstead into an actual, like, almost more of a colony of the homeland, as opposed to an independent, kind of independent religious farmstead. He brings the sinful outside world to Iceland.
Indeed, yeah, cool. Oh yeah, so that is not only the end of a farmstead as it was used to be, but also the end of a spiritual world, right? So the gods were concerned for good reason here. Thank you very much for playing.
That was amazing, you guys.
That was great.
Thanks, yeah, that was great.
And I'm super impressed that we managed to fit the whole structure in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I always like how the gendered moves work, and they also work today. But it was a very spiritual setting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Yeah.
It was neat to play around with spirits and gods and magic and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Indeed. Then I stop the broadcasting and see you in the tavern, maybe.
Yeah, I'll jump in there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I got to run to another game, but it was great playing with you guys.
Cool. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
I'll see you there, Garrett. I'll be there in like